Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. I said I was going to do a video here yesterday when I was talking about Barbie and how bad that movie sucked on my Pockets of the Future, my original channel. I intended to do a health update here yesterday because I haven't had a video here in a few days, um, and I'm going to do that now. I was sick for a little bit, then I wasn't sick, and I talked about it, but not sufficiently enough. It appears that I'm not going to get any kind of real COVID this year. I felt like I already went through it. It was a non-event. I'd gotten it the last 3 years, so I want to talk about that because I thought it would be something that every year would be, something I'd have to deal with, which sucked, and all that. No one really knows what COVID is. Those of us who've gotten it, it's not really a disease or an illness because it's so weird, and it doesn't follow anything that we've had before. Those of us who've had some weird symptoms. How does something take away your taste buds, right? Your ability to taste something. Like how these are weird symptoms. Little kids had one symptom, which was their toes turned purple, but nothing else. I had a pediatrician contact me. Someone who was verifiably a pediatrician, saying that she had patients coming to her. The kids' toes were turning purple, and then I looked it up, and it was a symptom that was not really talked about that much, but these kids had no other symptoms but that, or they had mild symptoms and purple toes. So it was a weird thing. And viruses are something that's supposed to live in your system. I had this with we've all had chicken pox, and then which later can become shingles, right? And then you have these other things, and they can boost your immune system. Your immune system, which is a natural defense, can be boosted by fighting things, right? Anything that's there that is having an oppositional type of is there to fight something off has to be tested, and each victory it has, it gets stronger. And so unless something comes along that just decimates your immune system, like HIV or some of these other things, right? And so my immune system was pretty bad when I got COVID. Before I got COVID, I was just not physically in great health. I just wasn't experiencing anything. I didn't have cancer. I didn't have, I wasn't getting sick a lot. Like I was getting sick a little bit, but not nothing significant, but not anything significant. But, my health was down, and I wasn't really paying attention to it because I don't. My mom was a hypochondriac, so unless I get sick, I don't do much of anything. I eat okay and I exercise, but it wasn't like I was healthy. And then I got COVID, and it decimated my system, and I did some blood work. I had some blood work done on me. It was at an office of a holistic chiropractor, but it was it was allopathic blood work, and all of my systems were down. My thyroid was under functioning. My immune system was suppressed. I was pre-diabetic. It was a whole list of things, and it was just a sort of an eye opener. And I just felt like crap. Like I couldn't, it wasn't like I had long-term COVID. It was like I just was weakened by it, and I just couldn't go do the work. My family and I were building a fence, and when I bent over to nail in the fence, we had wooden posts. I was like, I would get dizzy and I would lose all energy, and I couldn't finish the work. I couldn't do any prolonged outdoor work, any farm work. And, it was an ongoing issue, and I recognized that I had to get healthier, especially if they were going to do something else. If, this appeared to be a biological weapon. And then I got COVID again. I got the Omicron, which wasn't as bad, but there was a day where I had no vital energy, where I was sleeping for 16 hours. The first one I had trouble sleeping. It was weird. The second one I was sleeping all the time. But one day I couldn't get out of bed. I had no energy, just no life force. It was one bad day, though. Mostly it was better than the first COVID. And then I got a COVID again last year, it only lasted about a week, and it was mild. And this year I got sick for 3 to 4 days where I thought I might be getting COVID again. It felt like it. It felt like it was, kind of, I was having, mild symptoms, some difficulty breathing, some of the, things I experienced before. But it just went away. So it lasted, it was very mild. It was like I felt like I might get sick. It wasn't like I was really sick. I was under the weather. I was a little tired. I've been sleeping a lot this winter, so that's mostly a good thing. So maybe there's something there. But getting sick, I don't remember the last time I had the flu. I don't remember the last time I got really sick other than when I was in India and I got some respiratory thing. My son had gotten dengue fever at the same time, so it was minimized because of the severity of my son's sickness. It was also being in India. But that was the last time I was sick for prolonged time, a long period of time. And I was only really sick for about a week or so. And then my system was kind of weakened. And then I was going through a divorce. There's a lot of things going on there. It was like the prequel to the divorce I was about to have, right? And so, getting really, really sick, other than when I had mono when I was a kid, which lasted I missed 3 months of school. And it was like a whole year sucked for me. I had like a whole year that mono would negatively affected me in some way. But that was the sickest I ever had gotten in my lifetime. Yeah, I haven't had cancer or anything big. I haven't had any kind of major kind of illness. I'm almost going to be 60, so that's pretty. I've had what I consider pretty good health, with allergies and some lingering things, migraines and things. But the sickest I've ever gotten, I think, was COVID, the first time, and then a little bit in the second time. I've had some other illnesses over the years, but nothing like that, right? Other than the mono when I was a kid. And again, this isn't a recommendation video. I don't tell people about, I tell people what I'm doing, but I don't know if it'll work for you. I'm not a healthcare person. This isn't any kind of a how-to video or what to do video. It's just me, telling my story because people are, interested in it and they've gone through similar things. I started taking this stuff called AHCC, there was a Dr. Berg video that came up that talked about this. It's some sort of mycelium and mushroom-based immune system booster. And it's supposed to make a person's immune system be aggressive, even not just be, defensive, but be aggressive. And I felt better after taking it. I've been taking it about, 3 weeks a month now. Also, I've recently talked about Collinsonia root, which is also called stone root by the Native Americans. Native Americans used it. It's a neat flower. My wife and I just planted some so that we can do some tinctures of that in the future. It's good for the liver and hemorrhoids and blood flow. I have issues with blood issues vascular system things. It also works on the heart and nervous system. And so I've been taking a few of these other things. I've taken other things over the years, a lot of different supplements, and it seems to be really helping my system. But anyways, it looks like I'm not going to get COVID this year unless I get it in the spring or something. I don't know, the late winter. But I feel pretty good. I feel my immune system is good. I feel like, and even if I get it, it'll be mild like I got this last time. I got it the way that people were tested and they tested positive for COVID and they didn't really feel very much. They feel a little bit under the weather, but it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't as bad as a common cold. That's how it was for me this year. And what I'm hoping to do is get rid of whatever's in my system if it's a biological weapon, so it doesn't come out every time I get weakened. Like this is what happens with viruses. It's happened with me with mono, and I get lip sores. I guess it's the herpes virus. I used to get that, but I don't get those anymore. But I used to get them a lot as a kid. These things, and it was whenever my immune system was low, it would be something like this would set in. And to me, that would be the big, I don't want to say worry, but given this is a possible biological weapon, or it is a biological weapon, and it was either released intentionally or unintentionally. They haven't said one way or another, but it seems like the consensus is it came from a lab. So if it came from a lab, it's a weapon that they were working on, and gain of function stuff. And what's the reason? Because it killed a certain amount of people, but now it seems to have weakened people, maybe hurting younger people's ability to reproduce, and then of course the other things that went along with it, and all the dropping like flies stuff. And so what is it? What is this thing? And is it something that is going to weaken you for the rest of your life, right? So those, maybe for people who got it and it didn't really was a big deal, but They had it and they were young and their immune system's working well, but it's in their system, and they might get it severely in 10 years or something, or whatever it is, right? I mean, who knows? Or the next thing, another one that they talk about. And for me, and it's what I said when it first happened, even before it happened, I talked about boosting my immune system. That's how I would go about this, because that's the best defense. And boosting one's immune system. And again, I'm not recommending anything. This is the way I do things. But there are things that boost the immune system, and I found a lot more. I found a lot more information about that. My wife and I have been doing things about that. My wife has been making tinctures, and we're planting things to. I mean, we have goldenrod already, which was supposedly. I found an article that somebody sent me an article about goldenrod and how it did things against the spike protein. And so there are these things that are, natural out there that can boost the immune system, which is, the immune system is everything when it comes to your health. And, I looked into it, and there's no allopathic medicine or pharmaceutical drug that's specifically for boosting the immune system to enhance what's naturally there, right? There's other things that they do. And so, and I don't do well with allopathic medicine, so, I'm doing this other stuff. Again, everyone's got to find their own path, do their own research, figure out what works for them. But this is what's working for me, and it's been better. It looks like, again, it's still early in the winter, that I'm not going to get sick this year. Hopefully that's the case. And then, maybe I'm done with this thing at least. And I feel like my immune system and my knowledge and my ability to, I know about things to take now and things to do. Had I known these things when I originally got COVID, I wouldn't have gotten it that bad. I was eating ice cream, which my wife, we got some custard or something, and we usually don't do that. It was something that we just happened to do, 2 days in a row. And sugar, I don't do well with sugar anyway. And, I'm not, I was pre-diabetic because of COVID, but I just don't eat a lot of sweets and sugar. And they hamper the immune system. And, I got a sore throat, and I had ice cream again anyway. And I was experiencing COVID, symptoms that I didn't even know it. And so, it was just bad choices and things that I wouldn't make now. If I was doing what I do now and I know what I know now back in 2020 when I first got COVID, it would be a pretty much non-event, right? And, and I needed the event to get me to invest in this and learn more about everything. So I'm getting pretty close to doing the audio book. I'm going to wait to see what happens this year. But I think this spring I'll talk about all these things that I found and how they've worked for me, and, in a more, it'll be like $5 on Amazon or something. I'll just do I can't do it here because otherwise I just do it here. But I can't, my regular YouTube channel, because YouTube has very strict community guidelines about, alternative medicine and recommending things. And there's things I'd like to say that I can't say here about it. So, eventually I'll get that book out or something. I'll put it up somewhere. I'll do something with it because I have a lot of knowledge about it that I think it's, again, not recommending things to people, but things for people to think about and just a transfer of information. Anyways, that's it for this one. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.